Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 14, Episode 135. He's Dave Bryan. I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Thanks for being back with us here this Wednesday, Steelers Nation Day. Pittsburgh as a full roster, almost full roster, at least getting back on the practice field for the first day of OTAs on Tuesday. And so we finally have plenty to talk about here in quotes from Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, a smattering of players. We have some roster moves to talk about, some signings, some players that were waived, some draft news, some Heyward news. And so we are jam-packed today, finally.
Yeah, we got it all to talk about today. So should be a fun show. We'll revisit some Cameron Heyward contract numbers talk and kind of going on top of what we talked about the other day there. So it should be a pretty full show today. And where would you like to start?
Let's start with the housekeeping in terms of some of the roster moves that were made yesterday. Two of them, Pittsburgh signing running back Jonathan Ward to a contract as part of their 90-man roster. Ward, a veteran who's with Tennessee, Arizona, undrafted free agent a few years back out of Central Michigan, was part of the team's 3-day rookie minicamp about 2 weeks ago as one of those veteran exceptions like Anthony Averett signs, and now Ward joins him as some running back depth throughout training camp. He was a guy, Ward was the number one player I thought that could or would be signed out of rookie minicamp. Took a little bit longer, but still in time for the first day of OTAs, which is really all that matters. Obviously, your top three looks pretty set in stone with Harris and Warren and Patterson, but I think Ward is a really quality number 4, number 5 type with versatility, blocking, receiving, special teams work that is a kind of guy you need for training camp.
Yeah, I think you called that one right when it kind of came out that Ward was going to be one of the veteran guys participating in rookie minicamp on a tryout basis, and lo and behold, they signed him, not only him but Everett as well too at cornerback there. So it took a little bit longer, I think, to get the Ward deal done, but he was obviously present at the start of OTAs, and it gives him another kind of guy. He's been around the league a little while, as well too. He hasn't played, hasn't touched the football all that much, but it's not like you got a new guy running around in there. Like you said, the special teams aspect that he has to him is a plus. I know a lot of people. You probably got some of this on Twitter as well too. What good is it, signing a kind of a scab like this in a running back room that's already full, and why they waste cap money on this? Well, first and foremost, you got to have 90 guys on the roster. You got to be deep as deep as you can, as many positions as you possibly can. And look, this is cheap. I mean, I'm not expecting this 1-year contract that Ward or Anthony Everett, for that matter. I expect both those to be veteran benefit deals and not even include any signing bonuses. And if indeed that's the case, both of those signings won't cost the Steelers one damn red dime, cent, penny, nickel, whatever.
Intercurrency here.
Intercurrency here as far as cap space goes there. So I don't know why people get bent out of shape on process that happens every year when adding to the back end of the roster. There's no guarantee that these guys are going to make the roster, but man, you're just a couple injuries away from a guy like that possibly having to see the field for whatever reason. And as we talk about all the time, I mean, guys that can play special teams and function, in a positional role, even in a limited fashion, those guys are gold, and that's why they hang around the league. That's why guys like Ward is able to still hang around the league and get shots. And what happens if he doesn't make the roster? This is a guy that you could potentially add to your practice squad and make a very strong unit out of that group as well too. So anyway, good call by you. We'll see how long. Now that I've said all that, hopefully he's able to hang on to the roster for a little bit and stay healthy, more importantly.
Yeah, just a quick note on that. I look at depth in two different ways. You have your, regular season depth when it comes to your 53-man roster, and Pittsburgh looks pretty strong there, top to bottom in their running back room, at least how it's projected to be. But you got to look at your 90-man depth and your training camp depth. And, in the summer, we'll see how much work Harris and Warren get. Maybe it's a little bit more because it's a new offense. They want to get those guys reps integrated in Arthur Smith's system. But still, generally speaking, I think the team will be very careful, even in practice with Naji Harris, who they were very careful with last year. And now Jaylen Warren in his third year, not really much for him to prove at this point. So you need guys to absorb carries in training camp, in preseason, and guys that have a skill set, beyond just being able to run the football. Ward only 17 career carries in the NFL, but he's played a ton on special teams. He can catch, had 100 catches in his college career. So there's versatility there. So, beyond the top three, your running back room looked a little thin from a training camp depth standpoint. You had Edwards, the undrafted rookie free agent from Georgia, Aaron Champlin, reserve future contract guy, but that was really it. And these guys get beat up and someone gets stinged. Pretty common. Patterson is 33 years old. He's not going to probably get a ton of reps in training camp either. So you need some guys to be able to absorb that. I think Ward's a good fit.
Yeah, Jeremy Pike did a good little I like that series that he's running every time somebody signs 5 things to know, about, X player and all like that. And they're kind of off the beaten path kind of things. And, his first touch in the NFL on the offensive side of football with the Cardinals was a kind of a shovel pass and for a touchdown. So one touch. First touch, he gets a touchdown there. And I didn't even realize that fake punt a couple of years ago. I believe that was the Cardinals as well, too. He had that fantastic catch. I think it was pass interference on the play or whatnot, but he had that fantastic kind of David Tyree catch up against the helmet. So anyway, we'll see. Once again, I don't know what the contract data is on that. The NFLPA running way behind. They just now put in four of the draft picks, finally got around to getting those guys' contracts in. And then the undrafted free agents all finally just hit yesterday as well, too. So I expect that just to be a veteran benefit deal for the minimum for both those guys.
We should just briefly mention the signing bonuses, since as you stated, we now know the signing bonuses for the 5 UDFAs that Pittsburgh signed. I know the bonus pool goes up, the cap goes up, but Pittsburgh, at least by their very meager standards, spending a bit of money on undrafted guys. John Rice Plumlee, which we already knew was $35K. Beanie Bishop got $25K. So that was the big, I think, get in terms of undrafted free agents, was getting Bishop to Pittsburgh, and he got, in Pittsburgh's terms, a decent signing bonus.
Yeah, and you had to wonder, and we talked about this, after it was initially announced that he was going to be one of the undrafted that they signed. You kind of wondered. Look, I know he's small and all like that. I understand why he went undrafted. But with that said, I had to wonder if his phone might have been ringing quite a bit, towards the end of the draft and after the draft with teams looking to sign him. So the fact that the Steelers, quote unquote, won the bid, if you will, with some teams, there are some teams out there, Alex, already that had partially guaranteed contracts on some of these undrafted guys that have already released some of these guys.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I've seen some of that come across on the NFL transaction sheet. So, look, good on them. We talk all the time about, quality of undrafted free agents and this team not budging off of guaranteed money or, guaranteed contract money above and beyond signing bonuses to get a guy. But for them to go out and spend $25,000 signing bonus on Bishop and lock him up, good on him, because Ross McCorkle had a post yesterday on the site on kind of a film room of all the past defenses that or pass breakups that Beanie Bishop had, along with the interceptions, and I helped kind of compile some links to kind of speed that process up. Went through the play-by-play that PFF provided me to find some of those plays to help expedite the process there. And obviously you can't sit there and just watch one play. I go down the rabbit hole and the tape keeps running, but he's impressive for a guy his size, especially in coverage there. So it's going to be fun to watch Beanie Bishop go through the process the rest of the offseason here.
Sure, there's an opportunity, especially right now, until they add more veteran slot help. Then Bishop, I think, will get plenty of chances. Now, granted, with signing bonuses, when you only sign 5 undrafted free agents, you have some extra money to, spend on those guys on a smaller class, but still a good get. And we'll see how Bishop does the rest of OTAs and, of course, in training camp. One other roster move, a pretty minor one, but still one to certainly note. Pittsburgh waive injured wide receiver Keelan Harris, who had signed a reserve futures contract, undrafted free agent from Oklahoma Baptist last year with Atlanta. So he was with Arthur Smith in Atlanta last year, was actually signed before the Smith hire this year by Pittsburgh, but waived injured. He was in rookie minicamp. Don't know if he got hurt then. I don't know if he got hurt Tuesday, but he has been waived injured. He'll clear waivers and then go to IR and maybe injury settlement, depending on the nature. We'll see, but that does open up a roster spot.
Yeah, like 3 days after you wrote the
yeah, that was the curse.
You wrote the kind of the updated kind of futures report profile on him. In total, give them the total of the undrafted bonus money, $93,000 in guaranteed money and signing bonuses going to those 5 undrafted free agents. You mentioned Plumlee, $35,000, Beanie Bishop, $25,000, Dawan Edwards, the running back, $18,000. That's a pretty nice little signing bonus for him. Jacoby Windman, that's the MSU product, inside linebacker, I think $10,000 there. And then Julius Welshoff, $5,000 for him. So that's a recap of that. I've got all that calculated now. I think the NFLPA has I think all but the final 2 unsigned. No, actually, they don't. They have. They still have not had the Roman Wilson contract hit or the. Let's see. There's 3 of them that I forget which order they came in, but only 2 draft picks contracts have hit the NFLPA. We know what the others are. They just haven't hit yet. But I'll have a full salary cap report post up on the site later on today for people to look at there.
Now, Pittsburgh's roster, is it 87, 88? I know they signed Ward. They waive injured Harris. Are they back at 88 right now?
Let's
tally on that. That's the most important, I think, aspect of the Harris waived injury is just how many spots. And there again, there's an exemption with Welshoff being considered an international player. He was born in Germany, so Pittsburgh can really carry 91 on their offseason roster. So,
all right, if you subtract Keelan Harris. Did I put the others back in here? I think they are at, that would make, let's see, that's 87. I have a header, which makes it, no, I don't have a header. 87 and subtract Harris. That should be 86. What am I missing?
No, they shouldn't be at 86. They're either 87 or 88.
I'm missing something. Oh, I think I'm missing the 2 other draft picks in here. That's what it is. Because I don't have them in. So it should be what, 88, right?
You told me it's 87 or 88. At the top of my head, I just wasn't 100% sure.
If you take Harris off there,
okay.
I believe it's 87. It's 89 with Harris because I haven't removed him yet because I want to see what happens with waivers. But 88.
Okay, so 3 open roster spots remaining for Pittsburgh to fill. That's after the Ward signing and after Harris was waived injured. So just an update on the roster size and how many spots are available. All right, Dave, one other piece of news here.
Real quick, obviously he's going to probably clear waivers talking about Keelan Harris today and then go to IR, at least initially on a split salary. So, you hate to hear guys in non-contact stuff and all like that, have to get waived injured this early. So you have to wonder what the severity is on that and if this might be a charge that they have to carry, on into the season as far as IR goes. We'll have to see.
Right. One other piece of news, and we probably will have an answer either by the time people listen to this or shortly thereafter, reporting is with the owners having their second round of league meetings this month after having them initially in March should know who's going to host at least the 2026 NFL draft. And the prevailing winds are suggesting Pittsburgh will be that team. Now, there are other teams in the mix. We know that Denver has also submitted a bid. And so it may be down to Pittsburgh versus Denver for NFL draft hosting rights in 2026. But all the reporting is indicating that it's likely to go the Steelers in Pittsburgh's way. So we should know that by the end of the day, probably sooner than that. And that's kind of been my feeling for quite some time, is that Pittsburgh was going to get that first bid, and they were bidding for 26 and 27, but I'm pretty confident they're going to host in 26.
Yeah, good on them. I know the city looks forward to that and all the economics that it produces. So hopefully that comes to fruition. I think they hopefully an announcement later on today, right?
Yeah, should be later today. That's been the expectation. Now, in terms of where they're going to hold this thing, we don't know details on that. I don't think we would know that today. There's been different areas floated. It probably would not be an Acrisure Stadium. They may either create something, some sort of stage, or maybe stage AE, but some people have said maybe that's too small of a venue for all the fans that will attend. We're not quite sure, but bottom line is it'd be really cool. I think it's long overdue for Pittsburgh to host this kind of event. It's in a great area. Fans are going to go crazy for it. It's going to be great for the local economy, for businesses, and so it's a win all the way around.
All right. Hopefully we'll have that official news to pass along on the Friday show.
All right, Dave, let's go to OTAs and day one kicking off on Tuesday, hearing from a slew of players. We'll talk about Cam Heyward here in a second, but I want to start with the quarterbacks because that was obviously the top story, to hear from Russell Wilson, to hear from Justin Fields for the first time in terms of this practice setting. As Pittsburgh Steelers players, really from the first times we've heard from Justin Fields at all. Wilson held his press conference after he signed, but Fields, I think, was out of the country on vacation, really hadn't talked much with the media so far. And so it was good to hear from both of those guys. And just for me, Dave, big picture, I really like the mindset both guys have. Does that guarantee it's all going to work out and they're going to play awesome? No, who knows how that's going to go. And it's May, it's spring. Everyone's happy right now. Everyone's optimistic, but Wilson is leading. He's embracing the competition with Justin Fields. It's not toxic. He says they're good friends. They were talking and texting years before they played together. Justin Fields is not content to be just a backup. Says his mindset's not to just sit on the bench all year. He wants to push. Russell Wilson, they're going to make each other better. So I think it's a really off the top, healthy sounding competition between these two guys.
When you go all this time and you're forced to write and talk about things, the Colin Cowards and the Stephen A. Smiths and the Bleacher Reports and all that kind of stuff that's early offseason fodder. And obviously we got the schedule release last Wednesday, and that was tasty to dissect and talk about and write about and all like that. And then when you get into OTAs, you get actual players talking again and things to overanalyze and contextualize out and parse and all like that. I went back through last night and listened to all that was said by Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, and tried to overanalyze it and parse it. I don't think you can come out of listening to either one of those two press conferences and say that, man, basically come away with, did either one of them say anything that you don't like or didn't like to hear? And I know some people are going to say, Justin Fields, is this going to cause tension because he doesn't believe he's a backup? And no, you want your number two guy to think that way. Both these guys. Obviously Russell Wilson has a ton of experience, but it's not like Justin Fields hasn't played either, and started a lot of games. So I like the mentality of both these guys right out of the chute there. I thought, Justin Fields, for short time that he has been in the league, comes off as very polished with the media. Had a lot of good things to say about Mike Tomlin, obviously. I thought it was very classy of him to thank the Bears in the manner that he did, and thank the city of Chicago and the fans and all like that. It didn't come off as animosity or that kind of thing. So I just think, and Russell Wilson went out of his way to talk about was asked about Cam Heyward, and I thought his response to Cam Heyward not being present at OTAs was absolutely fantastic. And I think he just got, I think it shows good leadership by both these guys. Mm-hmm. Once again, I was very impressed with the press conferences. Yeah, you could probably go through there and nitpick it and, find something maybe somebody listening didn't like. But overall, I thought both did a good job with their pressers.
Just one quote from Fields on Russell Wilson and that kind of competition. He says, quote, "I think Russ knows that we're competing against each other every day. Him being out there for me, that helps me get better. Us pushing each other. I definitely don't have the mindset of me just sitting all year. So I'm coming in every day, giving it all I got," end quote. But that, if you hear it, it wasn't this arrogant, I'm better than everybody kind of, tone from Fields. It was just, he's a competitor and you respect Wilson. And Fields later talked about how he's learning from Wilson and the detail that Wilson, takes and puts on every single rep, and just all the little things that a veteran Super Bowl winner like Wilson does that you can learn from. So, yeah, I mean, Fields has been a starter basically his whole NFL career since very early his rookie season. And so he's not going to just sit there and be content with being a backup. And obviously both a lot on the line for both of these guys in terms of contractually, financial futures, 1-year contracts currently. And so these guys know what's on the line, not just right now, but also for the future. So overall, again, I think both guys, as you said, are saying the right things. It's the right approach, the right mentality, and it's a healthy way to go about things to start off the OTA sessions.
All right, and both of them obviously on the field yesterday, going through drills and that sort of stuff there. So good there. Where to from here on OTAs?
Since you mentioned Cam Heyward, let's touch on that there briefly. And yeah, Russell Wilson essentially saying, when asked about Heyward's absence, saying that we're not worried about that. Cam's going to be prepared. This guy, is one of the best to do it, and just saying all the right things. Heyward saw that on Twitter. I think actually from a comment the quote that you had tweeted out, Wilson had responded to it, and then Heyward responded back to that. And so Wilson certainly showing support for Cam Heyward there, who was not at OTAs, which we knew about. There was an article, a portion of it from Jerry Dulac on, I guess it would have been Monday or Tuesday, that said that Heyward did not tell the team that he was not going to attend OTAs, and that his plan was for them to find out through the media, through his podcast. We wrote about that. Heyward saw it and then responded back to Dulac and said that's a bold-faced lie. That was not the case, and basically confirming that he did give the team advance notice on his absence. And Mike Tomlin, talking about that he's not really worried about the situation. He's in contact with Heyward, spoke with him twice yesterday or 2 days ago. So that's kind of the lay of the land on the Heyward stuff. He says he gave the team a heads up. Tomlin not super concerned. Wilson going to bat for him. And again, the mere fact of Heyward missing OTAs is not really much of a story. The story is just where things go from there.
Yeah, and Mike Tomlin made sure to say that he's in constant contact with Cam Heyward, and has to be, because Cam Heyward's a leader of this team, and Cam needs to know what's going on. And Cam even showed up at the flag football, the Troy Polamalu charity flag football event last night, and there's pictures of him palling around with Mike Tomlin. So look, this is business, So. Once again, in a perfect world, would you like Cam Heyward there? Yeah, from a leadership standpoint, but it isn't like he would get a lot of reps there anyway. Yeah, I'm not worried about it. I don't think the team's worried about it as well too. And Russell Wilson said that Heyward's presence is felt there in spirit, even though he's not physically there for the practices.
Sure. I want to talk about Heyward and the contract a little bit later in the show, but just to stick with kind of the business and OTAs, what Tomlin had to say. Mike Tomlin also asked about the team declining Naji Harris's 5th-year option. Harris did attend OTAs. He was, to my knowledge, a full participant. And Tomlin's answer, good luck parsing whatever he said. He gave every sort of just buzzword and cliche that you can. Essentially, though, my takeaway of what his answer and the reason was, it's just business. Now, what exactly does that mean? Does that just mean running backs are paid too much for the risk? I don't know what just business actually, is defined as, but to me, that was the bottom line of his answer.
Man, listening to that, the full audio, the first time, second time, third time through, Oh man, my head about exploded trying to wrap my brain around what he was trying to say, and I was interested to get to this podcast today to see what your decoder ring, your Mike Tomlin decoder ring had to say. Here's what he said, and I still struggling with trying to parse all this. He says it could. He was asked related to Naji Harris not getting the option picked up. Does that reflect anything on how the team feels about him, or with his role, or what his role might be, and what his attitude in the wake of that? And what is his attitude in the wake of that? Mike Tomlin said it could reflect a lot of things, but there's probably some depth to those waters. Sometimes it's positional related and things of that nature. There's a business component to this, and of all decisions that we make. And so there's layers to it. I'm not going to try to characterize it in simplicity. That would probably be inappropriate. What does all that mean?
Yeah.
What do you mean about the positional? Sometimes it's positional related. That to me kind of jumped out, but I still struggled with what's he trying to say there.
I think the bottom line that I can take away, and part of my own interpretation of just in general why they declined it, was the position is not worth it. You don't pay the position because of the risk and because of the, to use your phrase or word, fungibility of the position. That's kind of, I guess, my takeaway. But this could certainly be a quote on Food Network with all that word salad that Mike Tomlin just made for us there.
Yeah, once again, I mean, we could try to sit here and parse out these three sentences for 30 minutes and be wrong with the message maybe that he was trying to send there. But I thought positional related was interesting there. He made sure to hit on the business component. And then in the end, he says, I'm not going to try to characterize it in simplicity. That would be inappropriate of him.
Yeah, I think really what it comes down to is they want to dance around. They really don't want to answer the question. And, they don't want to do anything that says that paints Harris negatively or some sort of negative comment, despite the decline having a negative, obviously, feel to it. But they're trying to be very, very careful about how they approach whatever their reasons may be. And
on the Naji Harris side of things, I don't think I don't think you passed out or had your mouth gaping wide open when a report came out that Naji Harris declined to talk to the media on Tuesday. We'll see how long that lasts. I'm not shocked that he's taking some time to not address that with the media. Someone replied to me on Twitter, says, "Wow, this is obvious why, Dave. They're going to get a contract extension done with him, so there's no reason for Naji to even address it at this point." My pushback would be, man, I mean, if Naji knew for sure that a contract extension was coming, he could easily address the media and dance around it, knowing that he has the ultimate answer in his back pocket, So no, I don't think I don't think you can 100% rule out an extension happening between now and week 1, but I don't think that's a foregone conclusion right now. No, I really don't. And it will be interesting whenever Naji does address the media. That's going to be the first question that he's asked, or the second question that he's asked, other than how you feeling. How when will that happen, and what will he say? And it might be a while. There's no obligation, I don't think, for him to have to talk to the media right now.
Right. I don't think he'll talk to them until he has to. I'm not even sure when that would be, if that has to happen at some point during the spring. I don't know what the league, media requirements and mandates are on that. But Harris has never been one that's been eager to talk to the media, and I understand that. There's kind of been a love-hate relationship at times with the media in terms of how his quotes have been, in his view, misconstrued at times. But bottom line is he's there. That's really the thing not that I wouldn't have been mad if he wasn't there, but he is there. And so he's participating, knowing that, it's a new offense. You have to pick this stuff up. But, the fact that he's not talking to the media to me is a non-issue, non-story.
I did write right after the decision was made that I did kind of wonder what his actions would be moving forward. And maybe could him not showing up at OTAs, which we got to emphasize is voluntary, if that might be, him kind of sending a message. So look, good on him on showing up, that's trying to get better, trying to learn the offense and all like that. And the business side will either take care of itself or not. But at some point he's going to have to address the media, whether it's in these next 3 or 4 weeks, or maybe it's at the start of training camp. I don't know, but it will be must-see TV, I think, when that does finally happen.
Sure. And I think he's showing up because it is a new offense. If I had to guess, if it was returning OC, maybe Harris wouldn't be there, but he does not want to fall behind. And he wants to hit the ground running. And if you're not there and Jaylen Warren's there and he's picking up the offense and getting the reps, could that carry over into the summer if he's just more ready and more integrated in this offense? So I think that's probably a motivational factor for Harris to be there. But regardless of reasons, it's good that he's there. I think he'll have a really successful season.
All right, what else did Mike Tomlin say as we move this thing along?
I think that was kind of it on the big heavy quotes from Tomlin, just to kind of talk about the offensive line. I know he was asked about that, and we, found out, and Broderick Jones said he was playing both right tackle and left tackle. We saw some of the clips of, individual skeleton drills of him working on the right side. He also said he did play on the left some. And so from what I could gather, you saw Tanu still at right tackle, Jones at right tackle, Dan Moore left tackle. Obviously, it's day one of OTAs. Veterans get the nod typically, but it does not appear that Pittsburgh is having a full commitment as of right now to playing Broderick Jones at left tackle.
I know a lot of people will take issue with that, saying, man, get these guys on their sides and get them working and all like that. I understand that side. It is, however, day one of OTAs, and what we see now and what you report in the early days of training camp with the lines, and that's the more important thing. I want to be careful as not to draw sweeping conclusions after day one of OTAs here. I will tell you the thing that stuck out the most to me yesterday when it comes to really all of the offensive line, and specifically the tackle talk, the overarching main takeaway that I have coming out of all of it was Dan Moore talking about in so many words, the side, his preferable side. And my main takeaway from all of that is, man, I really don't think Dan Moore likes playing right tackle or thinks he can play right tackle or any of that. That was, when it comes to all of it on offensive line and tackle position, sides, and all like that specifically. And we had already heard Mike Tomlin said he can't play right tackle, right? Was one of kind of the things that we already kind of knew about. But to hear Dan Moore talk and the words come out of his mouth, that was a main takeaway from me. And it led on the back side of that. I think it just goes to show that it depends on the individual, Alex, when it comes to, we see some of these guys and you wonder, he's a tackle, he should be able to play right or left side. It really shouldn't matter. Some guys, just from a muscle memory or for whatever reason, just can't do it. Right. And I think we have to be careful moving forward with assuming that, he played left tackle in college. He took a couple of snaps on, maybe in practices or had to fill in injury wise on the other side, or for whatever reason. Some guys are just even even side specific when it comes to, a position like tackle.
Sure. I mean, my response to Dan Moore saying that he's not overall comfortable at right tackle is, of course he's not. He's been a left tackle almost his entire college and NFL career. So anybody would be uncomfortable trying to make that switch and not feel like it's a natural thing to them, because it hasn't been. But I think he's certainly somebody that wants to be a left tackle, and he knows his situation too. Listen, he's going into his contract year. He does not want to move to right tackle and have to try to play right tackle should it come to that at some point in season. And because right tackles get paid less than left tackles, even though their value is, I think, really the same. You're facing top edge rushers on the left and right side in today's NFL, but also does not want to have a kind of a questionable season trying to figure out right tackle as he's trying to, secure his future as well. So again, as you said, it's day one. We'll see how this thing goes. I don't want to make snap judgments. I was even thinking about, and I was researching, and I had forgotten about this. In Marquise Pouncey's rookie year in spring, he was not playing center right away. He's playing right guard right away, battling with Trey Essex, and Hartwig, the veteran, was at center before they finally moved Pouncey over to center, I think more late spring into training camp, and the rest is history there. So I don't want to make those snap judgments on day one, but I do want Broderick Jones, if he's going to be left tackle, to start getting a bunch of left tackle reps to kind of get him back used to playing left tackle again.
And I think he's handling it the right way in his media session on Tuesday as well too. I think deep down inside he wants to get back over to that left side, but he's just going to let the process be the process here.
Yeah, and again, he's a younger guy, more athletic. He's probably more natural to play both tackle spots. He had played both tackle spots a little bit at Georgia in terms of practicing. Obviously, was a really college left tackle in terms of in-game stuff, but it's a little less foreign to him. And obviously, playing right tackle a bunch last year, has an impact. So again, we'll see how this thing goes. I don't want to make any of those snap judgments on day one. I just hope that Jones gets enough work at left tackle, because I think that they got to at least have a chance for Jones to be the left tackle and Fautani to be the right tackle for week one. But you also may have to give Jones right tackle reps, because if you map things out, and we'll see how things goes, it's a long ways away. But if week one, Broderick Jones is your left tackle and Fautani is your right tackle, and if Fautani were to get hurt, you may have to kick Jones over to right tackle again. And so you probably still want to give him some reps at right tackle, because I think he may be your backup right tackle, even if he opens 2024 as your starting left tackle.
I agree. And we got a lot of time left in the offseason to watch that transfer. Was, though, your biggest takeaway about all of it in the offensive line, what the words coming out of Dan Moore's mouth were?
I guess, I'd already knew that, he's already made those comments in the past. So to me, it wasn't completely shocking. I really wanted to see how they were using Broderick Jones. I figured Moore would be playing some left tackle. I figured Fautani would play right tackle. Would Jones be a right tackle only? Would he be a left tackle only? Would he split? And he split. So to me, that's kind of my takeaway.
And all Mike Tomlin would really say about the matter is we're developing skills relative to our position. So left or right is less and less important. Same thing. He noted that the same thing is going on with Dante Jackson and Joey Porter flipping sides a little bit on Tuesday, and others flip a little bit, and just more, a little bit more word salad from Mike Tomlin on that. So they seem less concerned about position sides this early than maybe a lot of us do.
For sure. Let's look from a health standpoint, Dave. I think health is always something to watch for OTAs, who's practicing, who's not. We don't obviously have a complete picture. There's no injury report, and, it is just that day one. But we know two important things, two important answers. Corey Trice Jr., the rookie, or the second-year corner, who is a rookie, tore his ACL in training camp. He is practicing. That's according to the Trib's Chris Adamski. I don't know the exact capacity. I don't know if it's considered full or limited, but he is in uniform. He is practicing. So that's a big box to check there for him as he works on his recovery. And the linebacker Cole Holcomb not practicing, but there was no brace or any sort of equipment on that injured knee last year. And Mike Tomlin said that he's making a heck of a recovery, and so that's a promising word on Cole Holcomb.
I think we effectively buried the lead here, and to me, that's an understand. It was an expected piece of news when it comes to Corey Trice Jr. him, with the time when the injury happened and all like that. But good on him, man. He's back out there participating, and early in the off season at that with OTAs getting underway. So that'll get buried with all the things that was said and all the things that happened on day one. But that's a big story, and good for him. And hopefully he can stay healthy, and hopefully he can compete for a lot of playing time this summer.
Sure, because the last time that I saw Corey Trice in uniform, at least he was getting carted off with his head down, the towel around his head, because I'm sure he knew when he went down that he blew out his ACL, because he's had knee issues before, he's had ACL tears before, he knows what that feels like, and doctors testing and those types of things. So I think he probably knew in that moment his season was over, which just sucks so much for anybody, for a rookie trying to, he's been through so much on the field, off the field, he's had a lot of adversity. I think his dad was shot and killed. I mean, just been through just through the ringer. And so for this guy to be back on the field and all those, because when you talk about rehabbing, there's so much we don't see that I don't even probably have the knowledge and the base to talk about. But the late nights, the early mornings, the setbacks, the doing little things over and over and over again for weeks on end to build up your strength and, get comfortable, the mental aspect of being confident in cutting and running and jumping and doing those things that you have to do as a football player. There's so much that goes through it that we don't see behind closed doors, being removed from your team as you're rehabbing while they're practicing in meetings. It's tough, really, really tough. And so for him to be back there on the field in whatever capacity it was, is awesome. Where it goes from there, we'll see. He has to earn his keep. There's spots for the taking, but really happy for him personally to be healthy, to be a football player again. Excited to watch him. Hopefully he stays healthy.
And as far as Cole Holcomb goes, I would surmise that that's probably as good of news as possible related to him on day one of OTAs.
Yeah, I mean, we'd known that he was rehabbing. A couple months ago, he had posted videos of him working out, and there was no brace or anything on that knee. And again, we don't even know the exact nature of what the injury was. And heck of a recovery. Does that mean he's going to be ready for the season? I don't know, but it seems to be at least a relatively encouraging sign that there's no noticeable. If you were just looking at Cole Holcomb, you wouldn't know that he had suffered that terrible knee injury last year. So I think for me, the next questions are: does he work at all during OTAs and minicamp? And if not, once you get to training camp, is he going to be a reserve PUP guy? If not, then maybe that's a sign that there's a chance he could work in training camp, some more optimism. So those are kind of my next lines in the sand. Does he do anything this spring, even just individual type work? And if not, is he one of those reserve pup guys when they report to camp in late July?
All right. Hopefully the rest of the guys stay healthy and drink that high quality H2O.
There you go. Anything else? I mean, I'm sure there's a ton of stuff here from quotes. We heard from George Pickens, Pat Freiermuth. Freiermuth not really thinking about an extension, said he'll let the team and his agent handle that. If it does happen, it could happen at any time, obviously. But Omar Khan, as we referenced on Monday's show, has typically been doing these deals a bit sooner than later. So maybe something in June when the team breaks for post minicamp and post OTAs. But Freiermuth right now is just focused on learning this new offense.
All right, as he should. Anything else kind of stick out about anything? I mean, so many people talked yesterday.
Sure. George Pickens spoke about becoming a leader, and I know that might elicit some chuckles there, but he is really, I know that there are veterans that have been added, but in terms of guys that have been in this room, he is now the longest tenured guy in this Steelers wide receiver room in his third season. So he talked about that he kind of leads by example, not really a talker, but a guy that goes out there and works on the field. So obviously it's a really big year for George Pickens in year 3 for a multitude of reasons.
Speaking of that position specifically, look, I mean, it's going to be great to see George Pickens work with some different quarterbacks moving forward, right? That's my big takeaway with George Pickens. I'm just excited to see him work with quarterbacks not named Kenny Pickett, Mitch Trubisky, or Mason Rudolph. Man, if I would have told you, if I would have told you 1 year ago, from day one of OTAs that the 2024 Steelers quarterback room will on day one of OTAs will include Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, Kyle Allen, and Plumlee, and undrafted free agent rookie, you would have thought I was out of my ever loving mind. You still think that anyway, but
yeah, it's for different reasons.
Yeah, you would have probably be calling for the Baker Act on me or whatnot. But I when it comes to George Pickens, I'm just excited to see him get to work with other quarterbacks now.
Sure, me as well. And just to your point, visually watching some of the footage and clips of this is real. This is Justin Fields and Russell Wilson on the same field. It's pretty crazy to think about. I've never seen this kind of turnover in the quarterback room before, essentially for Pittsburgh. So it is. I think for me, it'll be weird at training camp just to kind of talk about. You got these two well-known, high-level, caliber at their best kind of guys, and just the contrast compared to last year.
Absolutely. All right. Mike Tomlin saying they're still open adding to the wide receiver room, though.
Yeah, I mean, it was boilerplate type of stuff like Omar Khan had said. He'd like the trajectory of the wide receiver room and where things are at. But obviously, we know that they're still looking to potentially add and certainly could use another name. Not really much else to say about that. The team, Omar Khan has said they're open to it. Tomlin said they're open to it. I'm sure they're going to keep searching. But in May, there's really not a lot of avenues you can search right now.
Right. So we'll have to see how all that transpires moving forward.
Let's see. Any other quotes that were really notable to hit? As you said, a ton of guys speaking, a lot of excitement over the Arthur Smith offense. Do you take any stock into this is not from one particular player. I think it was from Kabali that said he just kind of had this sense and feeling from multiple players that they love the Arthur Smith offense and how things are looking. Is that notable, or is that something that you say about every OC when they get hired in May? And of course, things look good on paper right now, but results are really all that's going to, be how this thing is ultimately judged by.
Repeat.
Yeah, I did. I really said that really poorly. I apologize. Do you care? Do you have any sort of takeaway? Does it matter that you hear reports that this team is really liking the Arthur Smith offense, or is this just off-season fodder?
I mean, is anybody going to come out and say, I don't like it?
Right. You're right. No, that's my point. I think, it's good to hear, I guess. And, they talked about, buying in and the physicality and Russell Wilson working with Arthur Smith to kind of help build up this offense. But it is kind of the standard line you hear anytime a new OC comes in.
Right. The proof will be in the pudding.
Yeah, exactly. That's going to be the ultimate thing that matters. It's just the results and scoring points and this passing game being more consistent and competent, in a run game that gets off to a stronger start. Those will be the benchmarks this team has to check, as opposed to how things look and feel in May, because they always look and feel good in May before the pads come on and you're facing opposing teams. Any other notable quotes, Dave? Anything else you want to talk about from what players said on day one of OTAs?
Not that I can see this real topical. I mean, we're already almost an hour into this, so there's going to be a lot more to talk about the rest of these practices this week.
Okay, Dave, let's go back to the Cam Heyward contract stuff. We had a long discussion. I really enjoyed our discussion on Monday's show. I don't know how you want to, I'll kind of let you just take the baton and lead things off here if you want to kind of revisit your thoughts about that and just maybe some clarifying comments, or however you want to take it, feel free.
Yeah, first and foremost, coming out of the talk about the Cameron Heyward contract that we had on Monday, I think a lot of people took the example that I gave as something that I was encouraging to happen or thought would happen. And my apologies if I did not present it properly. I wanted to give a top of a market kind of ask of what I viewed Cam Heyward's side might being as part of that, and as a byproduct, what the Steelers would have to do to accommodate such. And as part of that kind of high offer scenario, I looked at it from several factors. How much more cash in 2024 might Heyward be looking for on top of the $16 million. On top of that, is part of the process Cam Heyward worried about what the average yearly value, in other words, where does he rank on the list of the new money average coming out of this? Is it more than the 16.4 million, what he's at right now? So my look at my presentation of what that a potential contract could look like would be what I would view as the most I think Heyward could try to angle for. In no way, shape, or form was I suggesting that would have to be the deal, or that I thought that should be the deal. Both sides should agree on. It was, let's look at the high end of what this could potentially be with Heyward. What, the new money average of right around 23 million, where he would, the additional $6 million in cash, how the Steelers would go about accommodating that, what it would do to his cap number, and all like that. So I think people took us talking that end of it as, that's what I thought it should be. That's what I think it should be. Get it done type of thing. In no way, shape, or form is that my belief in that matter. It's just looking at it at a high end situation there. Do I ultimately believe that the Steelers are going to give Cameron Heyward, a total of $22 million in cash in 2024 as part of this, as part of an extension? Do I believe that Cam Heyward's going to come out of this with a new money average of 23 million? No. What if look, people that listen to this show, a lot of them don't read Steelers Depot. All right. A lot of them just get their entertainment side of things, of what we do on the podcast, and the podcast only. Several others do both listen to the podcast and read the site. However, if you have both read the site all off season, specifically my salary cap updates and cash updates, and in addition to what we have talked about with Cam Heyward and a potential contract extension, both in cash and cap and all like that. What the main thing that I think I've driven home is, at least my expectations in doing cash projections and cap projections have revolved around an extension with Cam Heyward being a no new money in 2024 situation. I mean, am I lying there? Is that what I've written and talked about?
No, that's been what we talked about the entire time up until Heyward, said he was going to skip OTAs. And then Monday was the thought of, okay, if it's not a new money or no new money deal, and that's just an if, what could it look like if it's something beyond that?
Right. And look, I was a little bit caught off guard by Cam Heyward, basically using OTAs now as a, negotiation tactic. I didn't foresee it coming to this. Not that it's a big deal in the grand scheme of what he's doing, but he's obviously dissatisfied with the way things are going, right?
Sure. And there's always a level of story when a player of Heyward's caliber is unhappy with his situation, to whatever degree that is.
So on the heels of that, I wanted to present a high side of what maybe his side could be asking for. And that's the reason I laid the contract out in the manner that I did. Now, let's look at the other side of it now. All right. Let's look at it the way I've kind of been talking about it and writing about it throughout my salary cap updates and my cash updates and all. Well, I got some nasty email. Somebody said they're going to come kill me, Alex, if the Steelers.
Seriously?
Yeah. It's an email with a lot of numbers in it and all, which I would think is a fake one. But I don't know to what degree they're joking, but they made it clear that they don't want Omar Khan signing Cameron Heyward to a contract based on the terms that I presented the other day. And I got a lot of other nasty emails as well related to it there. Once again, it was not presented in a manner that I think that's what will happen or should happen. That was a high end of what I could foresee Cam Heyward's side asking for. And I mean, is it that out of realm?
I mean, if it's not no new money, then there's gonna you can't he's not gonna just take $1 million in new money and call that satisfied. I wouldn't think if he wants something that is more than just the no new money angle and approach.
All right, now that we presented that high side, let's look at this thing if it comes to fruition with no new money in 2024 and Cam Heyward's average yearly value, new money average, coming in exactly what it is right now, which is $16.4 million, which has Cam Heyward ranked, I think, 20th overall as far as defensive tackles around the league goes. What would that look like? And in essence, and I've mentioned this, I think, several times as well too. Let's say it's 2 years tacked on to what he has now. Let's assume that there's no new additional money above and beyond the $16 million that he's currently scheduled to earn in 2024. All this basically becomes, and what I've referred to it several times as, is a glorified restructure. All right. Mm-hmm. Now, what exactly would that look like on paper? Well, what you would do in this instance is, if there's no new money in 2024 on top of the 16 million, and if you're adding 2 years onto the deal, and if the goal is to come out of this with his new money average staying intact at 16.4 million, then it's very simple to draw out. What you do is you take, or what you could do, depending on, here's the other factor, is we don't know, even at this point in the offseason, what they may or may not have earmarked as far as needed cap space. We think we know, but as Jim Morris says, you think you know, but you don't know. Mm-hmm. There might be, what if they are going to come? What if they do try to extend Naji Harris? We're already planning for a Pat Freiermuth extension and the slight increase in a cap charge for him as a byproduct of that. Who else are they going to sign? Is there still going to be a significant playmaker wide receiver that they have to accommodate? Maybe a sizable cap charge. We don't know. So making an assumption on a byproduct of a Cam Heyward extension based on what they would try to clear in cap space, all we can look at really is what the most they could clear on it is, and then kind of work backwards from there. So let's assume that they want to clear as much cap space with Cam Heyward's deal as possible as part of a no new money in 2024 extension. In doing so, what they would do is they would take all but 1.21 million of that 16 million that he's scheduled to earn now in 2024, turn it into a signing bonus and prorate that out over 3 years, meaning 2024 and the 2 additional years there. The byproduct of such, if you did it exactly that way, would result in Cam Heyward's cap charge in 2024 decreasing by 9.87 million. All right, so that's the most that they could create in cap space by doing it exactly that way, with a 2-year extension and not adding any void years or anything, onto it that way. So that's one thing to look at this that way. The other way, and once again, we have not given Cam Heyward any new additional money. All we've basically done is turn the chunk of that 16 million into a signing bonus, prorated it out, and decreased his, not giving him any new cash or anything along those lines. Now, as far as the years 2025 and 2026, if you were to keep his new money average at 16.4 million, you don't have to be a rocket surgeon or a heart scientist to figure that out. It would have to come out the 2 new years totaling out at 32.8 million So the easy way to do that would be to give him a base salary in each of those 2025, 2026 years at $16.4 million. All right. So what you have done there is basically a glorified restructure of his contract, turned a chunk of his base salary in 2024 into a signing bonus, put in placeholders of base salaries in 2025 and 2026 of 16.4 million. You lowered his cap charge nearly 10 million in the process. Everybody shakes hands and goes about their way. All right.
Now, and the way that'd be presented, it would be, in terms of media reports, it would be a 2-year extension worth $32.8 million with whatever the math is on the signing bonus, correct?
Yeah, and they'd probably guarantee the base out that extra 1.21. Okay. Fully guarantee that. So it would probably be viewed as 16 million fully guaranteed, and the extension $32.8 million of new money.
Right. And I just say that to illustrate the point that the way these things can be framed initially can be so off from how they're actually done, that because if that gets reported, hypothetically, people will lose their mind and say, oh my God, how are they paying him all this kind of money despite them literally not guaranteeing a single additional penny?
Right.
Just to be clear about that.
Right. Now, here, if you're Cam Heyward, all right, now, Here's another thing to remember. Let's go all the way back to, what year was it? 2014.
Okay.
Remember what the Steelers did with Troy Polamalu and Heath Miller that offseason. Now, this team was severely cap crunched at the time, needed cap space there, but they signed both Troy Polamalu and Heath Miller to 2-year extensions that offseason. As part of that, neither one of those two guys were given additional cash money in their 2014 seasons. And not only that, the 2 additional years that were tacked on to both of their contracts as part of those extensions, they're equated with both of their new money averages going down there. So I hope they obviously weren't prideful in that aspect, and both moves they were in essence glorified restructures there. Now, obviously, Polamalu did not play past the 2014 season, so all he did was get the cash that he had coming to him in 2014 to him. Heath Miller played 2014 and 2015. Obviously, didn't see the final year 2016 of that, but that's all those deals were glorified restructures. And not only that, they came out the back end of it with lower average per year, new money averages, if you will. Now,
do we know how much lower they were? Just slightly? I mean, I'm sure they weren't significantly, but.
I mean, I think going into that, wasn't Polamalu's new money average going into that like 8.84 or something along those lines? And I forget what Heath Miller's were. I mean, it was lower, and I significant. Well, I think Polamalu's ended up something like 5.85 million new money average.
Well, I'd call that significantly lower. Yeah.
I don't have those contracts pulled up right in front of me, but I do know that was the byproduct of those there. So, what are they going to try to do the same thing with Cam Heyward? Are they going to try to say, look, here, take your 16 million you're set to earn. We're on top of that. We're going to make your new money average 13 million. In other words, you're in 2025 and 2026, you're going to have base salaries of $13 million. All right.
Yeah. I have a hard time believing Heyward's going to go for that, but I know we're just laying out possibilities and scenarios.
Right. Now, when looking at all this, what is the motivation for Cam Heyward to go through all this, sit out OTAs, to end up with a contract extension of 2 years with no new money in 2024, and even let's say he comes out of this with the new money average being 16.4 million, yet there's no guaranteed money in 2025 and 2026. What is the motivation to just do a glorified restructure? Basically, the way we laid it out.
Sure, that's kind of my question. Simply put, what does Cam Heyward want?
Let me lay a little bit more groundwork here, just so in full disclosure. We had a welcome to Dave's TED Talk in our Discord channel the other night, because I asked these guys, what is the motivation here for Cam Heyward to do basically a glorified restructure, and essentially skip OTAs as negotiation tactic? Go ahead.
Yeah, again, the question I have for Cam Heyward, if I could ask him, was what are you looking for? Are you looking for the kind of on paper security, quote unquote, of being under contract? Are you looking for more money? Are you looking for more guaranteed money? But to answer your question, kind of the thought, what is Heyward looking for potentially in general is, I don't think he wants to go into 2024 looking over his shoulder, uncertain, even just from an on paper perspective, where he'll play in 2025. He's got a family, he's got kids, maybe they're in school, I don't know for sure, but you don't want to have to uproot your life in 2025 to go play in Arizona for a season. I mean, that's just not something he wants to do. It's not fun for anyone. He wants to finish out his career in Pittsburgh. So I think even just even though if it's not guaranteed, which it won't be in terms of the base salaries, the on paper commitment of at least know that I'm technically under contract is going to give some peace of mind.
All right, but where's the security for him, though, other than it just being on paper saying, all right, Cam, here's your $16 million for 2024. We all knew that you were going to get that anyway. We added on 2 more years to make you feel better. You're under contract. There's no guaranteed money involved in that. Let's see. The NFL has officially awarded the 2026 NFL draft to Pittsburgh. How about that?
Yeah, I mean the sense had been that for a long time, even dating back to this year's NFL draft. Roger Goodell said there was a good chance that Pittsburgh was going to be in the mix and get the nod. And I kind of figured for a while that Pittsburgh, it was overdue. The city is a great place for it, location. Again, I don't know the logistics of some of those things, but 2026, that's going to be an awesome event.
Good on Pittsburgh. Hey, we were able to have some breaking news.
There you go, today. For sure.
All right, back to your thoughts on Heyward.
Oh yeah, no, I understand your point. What is the guarantee? What is the actual security? And the answer is there is no security. But the only way to get security in terms of being almost guaranteed you're going to be a Steeler in 2025 and 2026 is like to guarantee your base salary, which we agree Pittsburgh is very unlikely to do. So no matter how you structure this thing, even under your Monday high end with the $6 million of new money, that does not, you get more money now, sure, but it does not create security for 2025 and beyond, which is what I think Heyward is looking for. So there's really no way to actually get security in Heyward's scenario.
Do you think he will ultimately be fine with such a glorified restructure?
I don't know. I don't know what he's looking for exactly. I think he certainly wants at least some level of commitment. And so I don't know if he's going, I think his priority is to have, his contract extended. I think that matters a bit more than the particulars of what the money is. But I don't know if he just wants a kind of flat, no new money restructure, essentially extension, or does he want some additional money? I can't answer that part.
How, if he was to ask for more new money in 2000, assuming that no guaranteed money would be given to him in 2025 and 2026 as part of this extension, which really technically shouldn't be given to him. I mean, should he get any guarantees past this year?
Not in terms of base salary. If you want to do a roster, I think a roster bonus structure still makes the most amount of sense, but not in terms of base salary guarantees.
All right. How much more cash above and beyond $16 million in 2024 should he be asking for?
again, that kind of gets really in the weeds. It's not big money we're talking about. You're saying $6 million on the high end. You can sit there and say 3. We could debate the numbers all day long. I mean, that's not. I really couldn't give you a good answer on that personally.
Look, if the byproduct of this, are they going to sign Cam Heyward to an extension between now and week 1 of the regular season?
Yeah, I mean, that's what we had talked about Monday. I still am leaning towards yes, they will, but I'm not going to even come close to saying that, it's going to be a certainty. I don't know exactly how this will play out. And if they don't do an extension, I wonder what Heyward's posture ultimately ends up being, because obviously, does he not show up for mandatory mini camp? Does he do a hold-in during training camp? It's going to get messy.
I think ultimately, without trying to speak a lot in absolutes, I think unequivocally this gets done somehow, some way with him before week 1 of the season. The thing is, though, is if it does end up being no new money, I mean, no new money above and beyond the $16 million in 2024, no guaranteed money in 2025 and 2026, and regardless of what his new technical new money is past, as part of the deal is here. I don't think that's a win for him.
What is a win for him then?
Additional new cash in 2024, whatever that is.
But isn't his whole, I get that, but isn't his whole issue about security and feeling like he's going to be able to be a Steeler in 25 and 26?
Yeah, but I mean, other than guaranteeing money in 2025 and 26, where is that guarantee?
Sure.
It's just written on paper.
Sure, that was the point that I made, that I think, trying to get that guarantee is going to be tough. So I think he just at least wants the on paper commitment of the team making it to him. I think he cares about that more than he's going to care about the new money aspect of it.
Okay, I just kind of feel like if the goal for both sides was to have 2 years tacked on, so he feels better and he's not worried about additional money, additional new money in 2024, then why isn't this already done?
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. When did the Troy and Heath extensions get done? Were they late? I know it was under Colbert, and so it's not the exact same regime. But when did those occur? Did those happen early, or did those happen, in August?
Let me look at my notes here.
I'm guessing they were probably a little bit later, but I'm just purely guessing.
What year did I say that was? 14, right?
Yeah, I think it was 14.
I think that happened in August.
Okay.
September. I'm trying to think. I know I've got it somewhere here on the site.
Something he did in March 5th, 2014. There was an extension done, it looks like.
Was there?
Yeah, I'm just Wikipedia-ing it right now. That actually might be, but I'm going to defer to you on all the details.
Okay, yeah, it looks like it was March. They would have needed it. It was March 5th. We have it on our site here. March 5th, 2014. And I would imagine the Heath Miller news came out. It was
also March 5th, 2014.
At the same time there. So, yeah. And once again, they were up against the cap that season before the start of the new league year and had to get it done and all like that. So they obviously aren't, stressed for cap space right now. But I mean, if you could get that thing done with no, like I just said, the whole glorified restructure aspect with no new money in 2024, no guaranteed money in 2025 and 2026. And that was enough to satisfy Cam Heyward and prevent him from having to skip OTAs, then why wouldn't that be done?
Yeah, I guess it's just a question about his base salary for the next 2 years. Would he be worth that amount? I guess it'd be the only thing that, even if you were playing him, is he worth that kind of money? Would be, I guess, the question.
The only other thing I would say is you don't want to put the pen to paper with a guy his age and practices ahead of him because of maybe fear of injury or whatnot, until as late as possible, especially when you don't have to do it right now in regards to salary cap space.
You're confident something will happen. What do you think the ultimate deal looks like? Is this a no new money restructure or extension, whatever you want to call it? Is there going to be new money involved? What is your actual realistic and prediction of how this thing plays out?
Look, I have written and as far as my cash expectations go and all like that, I have written that I expected, that my thought process, at least up until Cam noted that he's going to be holding out from OTAs. I mean, it's not really a holdout. It's just not showing up for something that's voluntary.
Mm-hmm.
If you phrase that wrong, I'll have the other side coming at me. But look, all along I have written and planned for this to be a no new money in 2024 extension. Now, based on his actions so far, I have no reason but to think that he's trying to angle for at least some new money in 2024.
Mm-hmm. And if Pittsburgh isn't willing to do that, then where do they go from there is the question.
I still think something gets done. Now, do I think it's going to be the $6 million scenario additional that I laid out as a high end the other day? No, but could it be $2 million more?
Yeah, I don't know.
Is that unthinkable there? Or is it going to be somewhere in the middle from what I always said? I mean, nothing says they can't put guarantees in, could they do this? I mean, it would be a bit unique, but we don't have much of a track record on Omar Khan anyway. Could they do something where there's no new cash in 2024 above and beyond the 16 million, and they say, we'll guarantee $3 million of whatever base salary you have in 2025.
It'd be precedent breaking. I think Pittsburgh's concerned about that. I go back to roster bonuses. I think setting in roster bonuses is going to be, it's not obviously fully guaranteed, but it's going to create a line in the sand. It's going to create that discussion point early in the offseason. What is my future here? And once, if it is, exercised and picked up, you're basically locked in. And at that point, it almost becomes, you're guaranteed and you can, kind of breathe easy. So I think that's actually the way that Pittsburgh should structure this to kind of make both sides happy.
Here's the other aspect of it that's very, very tough to talk about because of the language and all like that. Garrett, talking about injury skill, what they call injury skill cap guarantees in future years. In other words, the money's not fully guaranteed, but it is guaranteed injury skill cap, all those designations.
Mm-hmm.
Could how much could that play into the negotiations?
Yeah, I mean, that really gets into the weeds at that point, but I think the extension will get done. I think there'll be some sort of at least creative, maybe not creative, but something additional in terms of the structure, roster bonus, some other mechanism than just a straight no new money, Heath Miller, Troy type of deal.
All I will say is this, is if he comes out the backside of this, talking about Heyward, and the extension ends up being 2 years and basically no, glorified restructure, no additional cash in 2024, no guarantees in 2025 and 26. And, if that's all this ends up being, it makes you kind of wonder why all the rigmarole of sitting out OTAs.
Yeah, but is it even rigmarole or is it just media noise? I mean, from the Steelers standpoint, from Heyward's standpoint, it's probably less of an issue than it's being talked about by you and I and the media types.
Okay. All right. Once again, I think something gets done. Do I think it's going to be $6 million additional cash in 2024 and base salaries each of, $20 million? So that his new money average on paper jumps to $23 million. No, but I do want to allow that to at least to be the high ask side of what he could potentially push for. And that was the point of the discussion the other day. And my apologies once again for not laying it out properly, that there were no, that making it, I guess, appear that there are no other alternatives other than that. And look, once again, I have written all off season, Alex, and you can attest to this,
sure,
that I I've planned for this to be a no new money in 2024 extension for Heyward from a cash and a cap and all like that aspect.
Right. Yeah, that's what you had talked about every step of the way up until that Monday's comments. So that's still, I think what you think is most likely to occur or something very similar to that. Now we'll just wait and see and kind of, I assume it's not going to get done tomorrow or during OTAs. I think maybe June and maybe before training camp are the dates to watch.
All right. Now here's the other aspect of it is, if they did this kind of glorified restructure, if you will, obviously you're converting a chunk of the base salary into a signing bonus, and you have, there is some sort of tie and commitment there in a sense to Heyward, because you're saying, hey, we're willing to push off prorate the signing bonus with the chance that if we did cut you after the 2024 season, that we could have a chunk of dead money to deal with.
Sure. That is one aspect. And even just, again, I know that the contracts are not guaranteed, but some sort of show of good faith of like, hey, we're willing to at least work out this deal and talk this extension, even if it is kind of on paper. There's just some sort of, I think it's a different feeling. If you're under contract in 25 and 26, even if it is just on paper, it's a different feeling for yourself and for your family than if you're truly going to be a free agent after the season. You're constantly being asked about free agency in your future. That becomes the whole talking point when you're under contract, even on paper. Nobody talks about those things in terms of media discussions and talking points and teammates, because no one really thinks about the cap in that way. So even if it is just on paper, there's a big difference between having that contract versus being a pending free agent.
And look, this is no slight towards Cam Heyward at all. And hope I think he's fantastic person, player, been everything Pittsburgh could ask for and more or more. But you do have to be careful with guaranteed money with him. Not only this, not only above and beyond the $16 million this year, but in future years. It's common sense at a guy his age.
Yeah, Pittsburgh's always careful with guaranteed money in terms of base salaries. Again, they've only done it past year one for quarterbacks and for true top of the market guys, TJ Watt, Minkah Fitzpatrick. So, and for a long time, they didn't do it for anybody except for quarterbacks. That was the whole sticking point with TJ Watt of trying to negotiate all that out. So, yeah, they'll be careful. We'll see how it goes. I just hopefully, it gets resolved. And again, even if it is that, no new money extension, it's going to get presented as this big giant contract. Just remember the devil's in the details on these deals.
All right. Is there anything left gray area now? Am I going to get any more nasty emails?
Oh, I hope not. Please don't send those. But we can disagree reasonably about whether or not he should get an extension. There's people that just say we just don't want to flat out extend him just because of the age concerns, even despite the low risk of what these extensions could look like.
And I will say once again, I'll end it with this. If I'm Heyward's side, I want to at least have a starting point of shooting too high,
Yeah, just basic negotiations. Don't ask for the minimum, start high and work your way down. All right. Anything else here to talk about? Any other reactions here? Pittsburgh hosting the 2026 NFL draft.
Boy, that's just fantastic. That's just absolutely fantastic for the city of Pittsburgh. I'm happy for them. I know it's been speculated for a little bit here, but that's solid news.
Yeah, it's going to be so great for the city, for the community, for the team. Rooney speaking with the NFL right now. They made the official announcement, so kind of been expecting that, but it's really good to see that set in stone. And wonder who the top prospects in the 2026 class are projected to be, but we won't go down that rabbit hole today.
I got one more rabbit hole I want to go down.
Okay. All right, send us.
Here. First and foremost, and only because I spent so much damn time weeding through StatHead to find it. I looked at that stretch of games for the Steelers, the four consecutive AFC North games that they will play in 2024. And I wanted to find out how many times has a team been asked since realignment in 2002, how many times has a team been asked to play 4 or more consecutive divisional games without a bye week being mixed in there. And excuse my French, what a bitch that was.
I don't even know how you did. How did you even do that? Do you have to manually just start going through each team's schedule?
No, I started to do that.
Yeah.
I wanted to get it done before I died.
Yeah.
There's a method where you can sort, obviously, teams by their schedule by division opponents from 2002 to 2023. So I did that for each team, and then had to visually go down to see the week order to see. So it took time. It just took less time, and luckily I'm still alive. At least I think I am here. But anyway, I looked at that, and I found 12 different instances of teams being asked to play 4 or more consecutive divisional games without a bye week mixed in, dating all the way back to 2002. And the most recent instance of that was in 2022, when the Giants played 4 consecutive divisional games from week 12 to week 15. The Giants went 1-2-1 in those games. Prior to the Giants, 2021, the Commanders played 5 consecutive. I didn't research. Was that a byproduct of a game getting moved, maybe because of COVID or something like that? I don't know for sure, but they did play 5 consecutive NFC East games from week 14 to week 18. They went 1-4 in those contests. But long story short, there were 12 instances of this, or occurrences of this, happening in the NFL dating back to 2002. The Bengals have had to do it, I think, twice, believe it or not. But anyway, it has obviously happened before. It doesn't happen a lot, but it just goes to show that this has happened before, and like it or not, it's going to be a tough chore, Yeah,
and by the way, the Washington, that 5 in a row was their original schedule, so that was just how the NFL gave it to them.
All right.
Yeah.
All
so
right. You did some sort of study as well too, didn't you?
Yeah, we're both diving into schedules. No, I think it's interesting data. So basically, takeaway, it is important to note that there have been teams that have been successful in that kind of gauntlet stretch. There were how many examples of teams going, I think 3-1, maybe 3 or 4 teams that, went 3-1 over that 4-game span. So, it's not all bad for Pittsburgh. It's not every team has been miserable in those circumstances, right?
Right.
Right. Okay. And then the
schedule, I think it's a little less than 500 collectively.
Collectively, but there are individual teams that have gone 3-1 over that stretch, and there have been just a couple more that have gone 1-3. Now you can have a whole debate. Maybe just a team that's just not good in general. Of course, they're just going to struggle against any opponent, any set of 4 games. But putting that aside, good data there. I looked at short week because no one's talking about the difficulty of the teams, week 11 through week 18. It's obviously all 6 your AFC North games. You're at Philadelphia. You're hosting Kansas City on Christmas Day. But there are short weeks in there, too. You have a Thursday night game against the Browns. You have you lose a day because you're playing the Ravens on Saturday. So you go Sunday against the Eagles at Philadelphia, and then against Baltimore at Baltimore on that Saturday. So short weeks and road games. And then you have the short week there, obviously, from Saturday to Wednesday for the Christmas Day game. So just how good are teams on short weeks? Who's able to excel and thrive in those difficult circumstances? Because I really think that reflects coaching. I think you can really draw clear lines between teams that do well on short weeks and good coaching, because you have to just change your whole schedule and take a normal work week and condense that down. How do you practice? How do you game plan? How do you get out the information that you have to have in order to get the job done on game day? So I've looked at every team's head coach and their record on short weeks, not including new head coaches because there is no track record there. In the Mike Tomlin era, he is 27-17-1 on short weeks, that tie being against the Lions in, 2021. That is, I think, the 12th best winning percentage of the, 24 teams or so that qualify. That does include teams like the Texans, who just have 1 win, so they're kind of a small sample size. Short answer is the team with the sample size with the best short week record are the Cleveland Browns. Kevin Stefanski is 8-1 on short weeks. The team with the worst record on short weeks are the New York Jets. Robert Saleh is 0-6 on short weeks. And so just interesting data there. Pittsburgh basically slightly above average overall, but the teams they're playing on short weeks are also good in those circumstances. Again, the Browns, so they're able to play them on a short week in that Thursday night game. They're 8-1 playing the Chiefs. They're 14-5 on a short week, and then playing the Ravens. They are 27-13 on short week. So whatever that's worth, Pittsburgh has done reasonably well on a tight schedule, but unfortunately their opponents they'll be facing on short weeks have also done well on that tighter schedule.
All right. How long did that take you?
Pretty long, because I manually went through every single team, which was less fun, but there it is.
Why is it with all the technology and all now, the questions that we want answers to, we have to go over our shoulder to wipe?
I don't know. That's a phrase and a half, but it's what we do around here.
All right. One other quick rabbit hole, but wait, there's more.
Is there such thing as a quick rabbit hole on this show?
No,
I don't think so.
But some people say they don't care how long these shows go. So Juwan Jennings not taking part in OTAs.
Ooh, put the tinfoil hat on to close out today's show. Yeah, he's a restricted free agent on the tender, the second run tender this year. They're still working on the IU contract. I think they talked about that today. Kyle Shanahan did. They can't pay literally everybody. They can work the cap a lot, but we'll see. We'll see what happens there, I guess. One other
rabbit hole off the rabbit hole. Deebo Samuel switched to uniform number 1.
Did not know that.
So in doing that, doesn't he have to buy up the old stock of his old numbers, yada, yada? Yes. What I'm getting at here, and it might be my tinfoil hat on a little bit too tight here, he's not going to go through all that if he thinks he's going to get traded. Not that it's his decision anyway, but one would think that would be a business decision that he would hedge a little bit on, right?
I suppose so. And I guess you could put your tinfoil hat on even tighter and say there's no way he'll come to Pittsburgh because he can't be number 1 in Pittsburgh because they won't give the jersey number out. So that'll never happen, I guess.
All right. And correct me if I'm wrong, is we had a few discussions about Juwan Jennings way back before we started to recognize a little bit more that he was going to get a restricted tender and yada, yada. So that wouldn't be an awful ad if you could get, obviously you'd have to give him a new contract and all like that. But I'm not saying, I'm just saying, I mean, we've mentioned that name before throughout this process, and he's not at OTAs, and we'll have to see how that plays out. And they did draft Ricky Pearsall and all that. Also, Cortland Sutton not participating in the Broncos OTAs,
right? Which I think was expected.
Yeah, that was a little expected there. So anyway, we'll be monitoring those two situations moving forward here.
Yeah, with Jennings in the trade, unlikely. I think the Niners are going to roll with that talented roster. But free agency next year, you can bet a dollar or two. I'm going to talk about Juwan Jennings coming to Pittsburgh in March of 2025.
All right. We have run a little bit long, and I don't feel like pilfering through some of these nasty emails to get through ones to read here. So we'll get back to some listener emails on the Friday show here.
All right, sounds good. We'll come back Friday with more OTA talk, some emails, whatever else is happening along the way.
All right. In the meantime, you can follow me on Twitter /X at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do and want to donate to the cause, SteelersDepot.com. Hit the donate button. Also, if you like an ad-free version of the site, SteelersDepot.com, hit the ad-free button up right navigational bar and follow the directions that way. So until Friday, sure we'll have plenty to talk about then. As always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.